So if you looked ahead already to this week's passage, you probably saw the title in your Bible, Adultery. And because adultery, by definition, is a sexual relationship with a person who is not your spouse, you might have preconceived notions about what your group might discuss in this session. Like, everyone here is in a happy marriage, and so this is going to be a waste of time. Or maybe you've decided to tune out because you're not married, so this doesn't apply to you. But what if this topic actually applies to everyone? What if we thought about the heart of adultery as something actually rooted in misplaced desire? His second time using the phrase, "You have heard it was said, but I say to you," Jesus outlines the commandment to not commit adultery. He says it's not enough to just not do it, but I don't want you to even covet or lust or even desire another person who is not your spouse. Maybe what Jesus is pointing to is that before we begin to see transformation in our behavior, we need to evaluate our desires. Do we desire something that would break the bond of our marital relationship? Or do we desire something that would tear down our community? Why? Why do we desire that? Maybe Jesus is pointing us to evaluate our desires and to see if any are misplaced or out of order. The call Jesus places on our lives in the Sermon on the Mount is to change not just our behavior, but the things in our hearts. I recently watched an ad on TV for a razor, and the tagline for this specific razor was, "Worship yourself." And the entire ad was essentially about living your life with yourself at the center of all that you do and to live for you and you only. I feel that this ad was getting at the desire many of us have for significance and value. But what it is actually planting in us is a misplaced desire, declaring that in order to get significance, we have to elevate ourselves above everything. We have to worship ourselves. Eventually, if we believe and follow that misplaced desire to worship ourselves, our behavior will become more selfish, more egotistical, and it will eventually tear our relationships and communities apart. As you begin discussion today, take a moment to reflect and share if you notice any misplaced desires in your heart right now. Is there anything apart from Jesus that you want with all your heart? Anything you can't stop thinking of? Anything you're pursuing that you think will fulfill you? Or do you remember a time in your life when you realized your desire was placed in the wrong thing? What would it look like to pray as a group for God to reorient your desires so that you seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, the things that build up and restore community rather than tear it apart?